I think we're coming on. We're coming on. We're coming on. Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Good afternoon, everybody. Trust that you are all having a great day. Good afternoon. Let's see what we got here. Welcome aboard, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Of course, we also have in the house AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Fleming, Atlanta, Georgia. And I think we're just starting to populate. Let's see if my signals went out. You know how that goes. And the subject today, once again, we may get throttled. And why are we going to get throttled? Because you know what subject I have to hit up today. There's a piece that I'm going to play here that I did this morning at KPFT. But before we get there, how's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing fine. Paul Fleming says, remember, if markets were actually competitive, corporations would keep their prices as low as possible as they competed for customers. Instead, the concentration of the American economy into the hands of a few corporate giants give them the power to raise prices with impunity. You nailed it, brother. You nailed it. T2247 says, Egberto, I am grateful to see you expressing good health. Thanks for fitting us into your busy day. And I have the reply to say the same to you. Thanks for you fitting me into your day. I am genuinely del corazón, from the heart, touched. I am from the heart thankful. Melanie says, E2247, I really like what you said yesterday about peacemakers having not forgotten the original message. I know, right, Melanie? I know, and I know. Let's see what else we have here. We don't have any other statements from folks. E2247, welcome aboard. I think I called you out, but people are slow to come in, but they're slow as a rolling to the river. Anyway, the way I want to start, folks, is Melanie says, time with Egberto is time well spent. Thank you. Touched my heart. Thank you very much. Let's see, what else have we got here before I get started? Before I start the video, I kind of want to get a few more people in. YouTube is starting to fill up. Twitter is starting to get a few, not quite filled up yet. Michael Rudnin says, yeah, been outside most of the day, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You are 80 degrees in New York? Oh, that's warm for New York this time, isn't it? Here in Texas, we're already in the 90s, man, with heat waves over, or rather heat, what do you call it? The heat index over 100 degrees. Eric Hayes says, yo. Oh, what you trying to do, Eric? Are you trying to be cool? But you are cool. What can I say? Eric is cool. And Mike Cisak is in the house as well. He says, Paul Fleming, concentration of corporation comes from the regulatory state, which prevents upstarts from competing with established businesses. It's not a failure of the free market. There ain't no free market, my brother Cisak. The way we do things here, there are no free markets. Corporations are people, and corporations get rights like patent rights and all these things. And you're right, though, about how that regulatory state keeps the small guy out. I think we have a point of intersectionality there, Miguel Cisak. I really do. I mean, your bottom line is always a regulatory state. I like to talk about a bad regulatory state. And we could come to some sort of a intersectionality right there. It will be 99, which I will take over flood. And I hear you, brother. I hear you. So we need to reduce the regulatory state. But here's the thing, Mike, and I'm going to ask you, how do we do this? Okay, I'm going to entertain you here. You want to reduce the regulatory state. Wouldn't a regulatory state eventually, for companies that have a monopoly, prevent or exclude those who don't yet have the wherewithal to make it, and as such, regulations for preventing them to do so is necessary? Because you remember, my contention is that capitalism doesn't work, and I think I have all the evidence that I need for that. So once you tell me that you believe absolutely in this mythical thing that we call the free market, I ask you again, how do we have Exxon and all these other corporations without regulations? They all fuse together for one purpose, the maximization of income for their shareholders and their bonuses for themselves. That's where it devolves. All right? Monopolies come from a regulatory state which prevents competition. Let's repeat that. Um, you said monopoly come. Give me the actual path that a regulatory state creates a monopoly. Let's look at Exxon for an example. How does the regulatory state create an Exxon that then prevents a monopoly? Please explain that to me. I mean, you see, the word salads that a lot of my brothers and sisters come from the right, they never sit down and draw on a piece of paper how they get from the statements that they make into the reality in the world. My contention is monopoly is the natural state of the powerful taking over because they have the power to do so. Regulations create an equal playing field. We can see that in oil companies, food companies, and anything in between. And every time we allow them to form, that's where policies go crazy. It's that simple. Hello, Maywood from Long Beach, California, and Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas, and Atascocita, and Mike Cisak from Missouri. Welcome aboard. All right, let me go ahead and play my piece with regards to Netanyahu and Israel, and then we'll continue. The Exxon is not a monopoly. Oh my God. All right, let's go with the piece. I can't go there right now. Let's go with the piece. Exxon is not a monopoly. Amazing. As you guys know, the ICC recommended that that Netanyahu and the leaders of Hamas should be arrested on war crimes. I want to remind everybody, we all signed international laws, etc. A war crime, the collective punishment of a group, is a war crime. In other words, all of you Texans and Michiganders and Floridians that are listening to me right now, if you go ahead and if a very bad person harms or kill your relative, a relative of yours, let's say your daughter, your child, your whatever, and you go ahead and you said, because that person killed my child, I am going to go into someone else's home and kill their mother, their brother, their sister, and everything, because that particular family harmed our family. That's what collective punishment looks like. Another form of collective punishment is there are a whole lot of thugs that are running around Houston, and they all barricade themselves in the Galleria. As they are barricaded in the Galleria, they lock the doors to prevent innocent people from leaving, and they're hiding behind these innocent people. Houstonians, I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to be frank and empathetic. If the cops decided they wanted those 10 terrorists so bad that are in the Galleria area so badly, and in as much as they're surrounded by 3,000 innocent Houstonians, and they came in with guns and bullets and bombs and just bombed until they're able to get to those terrorists, mowing down innocent babies, mothers, and children. That chief of police, that whatever, would be charged with crimes above and beyond. They would be charged with murder for every single one of those people. Yet, but one other thing, you would look. The reason you see that so as something that is so wrong is because you would take a look at those people as human beings like you, your mother, your brother, your sister, or anybody else. Now, America, we like to call ourselves
the moral authority of the world and the police of the world, etc. That's who we like to think we are. Unfortunately, it's something that our government never was. Now, individual Americans are good people. Most Americans are good people. I mean, if you doubt it, look at what happened during this our huge power failure, where 1 million Houstonians were out of power. People with generators were throwing over lines to help each other. My generator is running. I need your refrigerator need to run. We give you some power to run your refrigerator so your food don't spoil. I saw all kind of good deeds being done by Americans. Americans are good people, but there's a militaristic flaw in our leadership. In our leadership that's full of testosterone, is what I've always said. Why we probably need women to take the power on right now, because for some reason in general, maybe it's because women bear children, they don't have that machoistic killing spirit. Before we even talk about Israel, I'm from a country called Panama, and this still hurts to the core. Bush number one, we had a Panamanian general named Manuel Antonio Noriega. To the Americans, he was loved for a long time. While he did deeds for the CIA, they looked the other way, as he was also allowing the financing of drugs through banks in Panama and many other things that he did. But for the Panamanian people proper, one dictator here, one dictator there, no big deal, etc., etc., etc. But that's the one person that the first time he told no to the United States, they said, "How dare you?" And then they decided, now we're going to be serious about charging you for selling drugs to willing Americans who want to buy drugs from you. Well, he wasn't selling the drugs, he was facilitating the drugs. So the personal responsibility, we won't try to talk to Americans with that individualistic personal responsibility message. We'll come and get you because you're facilitating drugs to America. And to get that one person, according to the American government, 1,000 Panamanians got killed in that war, that semi-war. According to the UN, I think it was 4,000. Those of us who live in Panama understood that the places where the C-130s, the stealth fighter as it was being developed, and many other assets killed 10,000 Panamanians. A lot of people don't like when I use that number because they say, "Oh, you're hyperventilating." No, it was 10,000 Panamanians that were decimated by bombs, just as Israel has decimated much of Gaza. But in the case of Panama, there were several blocks decimated in areas that we had the Cuartel Nacional de Panama, Cuartel Nacional in Colón, and David. In other words, these parts of Panama and David that had the security guard. We didn't have a military security guard. They called them La Guardia Nacional, the National Guards. That's where America came and blasted and blew up everything. I watched as my father was running under his bed like he was a chicken because of the missiles flying over Arcoiris to get into Colón and hit the Cuartel. America can fire bombs from 3-4 miles away to hit the targets that they want. And they did that back in 1989. And my town, Colón, thousands of people died in not Marañón, but in Panama City. I don't remember the subdivision. Thousands of people died. The tenement buildings that surrounded the Cuartel Nacional, thousands of people died because they lived in tenements, but they were expendable. Nobody considered them human beings in the United States. And when the war was over, they kept the reporters out. They bulldozed everything, put it into mass graves, etc. No news media was out in the United States covering it, but it was covered elsewhere. So what Israel is doing is not anathema to what we have done to innocent people. These are war crimes, collective punishment. Noriega, all the dead Panamanians shouldn't have been dead to capture Noriega. They wanted to capture Noriega, and they were going to do whatever was necessary to capture Noriega. Back now to Israel. The same is occurred. What Hamas did was terrorism, criminal. It was horrendous. 1,200 innocent Israelis murdered, killed, terrorism. And in response, Netanyahu and the IDF goes into Gaza. And the pretext was Hamas is hiding behind innocent people. Remember the Galleria in Houston? Would we allow our police forces or National Guard to blow the crap out of the Galleria to get those 20 or 30, 40 or 100 terrorists that are hiding behind 3,000 people? Would we sacrifice those 3,000 people? We know we sacrifice Panamanians to get Noriega, one person. We know we're capable of doing that. And likewise, it was done. It's what's being done in Israel. 60% of all buildings have now officially been blown up in Gaza. Under those rubbles, people talk about there are 35,000 people dead. There are more than 35,000 people dead when you look at the entire strip, that small strip of Gaza, and all the different towns in there that's been decimated. Thousands of people dead. I mean, are some of them Hamas sympathizers? Probably. Are some of them Hamas? Likely. But most of those people just want to get by with their lives. And because folks do not see the humanity in these people, anybody who looks at news other than the New York Times or the Washington Post, anybody who looks at news from around the world and understand what is going on, our brothers and sisters inside of Israel don't get the real news. They kicked out Al Jazeera. They stopped the live feeds out of Israel, Gaza, and it's elsewhere. It has to be smuggled now. You can't know what you don't know. You can't make decisions on what you don't know. But you also should never lose your humanity and your empathy. The Israeli papers are now reporting how, in fact, just like charging Trump with crimes have somehow increased his popularities with a sect in America. Now that Netanyahu has been charged or they want to arrest warrants from the ICC, his popularity in Israel has gone up. What the hell is wrong with the world's morality? What is wrong where we cannot see death is wrong? What is hell is wrong? We have made killing, we have made collective punishment so vogue, or we have made it that it is now vogue for many. What is wrong with humanity? The people in the newspapers are saying, how dare them put Netanyahu at the same level with Hamas? All I say is open your eyes. Open your eyes. Compare the cities of Gaza or the territory of Gaza with Haifa, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. People can still go and have their coffee. People can still go and drink their drinks. People can still go to their churches, their synagogues, their mosques in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, everywhere else. Even as rockets come from Gaza and the West Bank, they're protected by the Iron Dome. So life goes on almost, not completely, almost as well over there. But in Gaza, it's decimation, killing, bloodlet, and daily. I have somebody who calls into my morning program every single day. Or rather, my afternoon program. He goes ahead and he prints every single day the death count. Every single day. He reminds us of the death count, the injured count, and then he does a proportional analysis. Suppose this was the United States of America. I want you to think about that, my brothers and sisters. And by the way, criticizing the death of people, criticizing what's happening, do not let anybody tell you that being humane in whatever you have to do to be humane makes one anti-Semitic, racist, or otherwise. Just look at the numbers, look at the morality, and think about your empathy.
We spend a lot.
Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Anyway, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas is in the house. Lee Grant has joined us from Montgomery County. Let's see what else we've got. If I missed anybody, if I missed anybody, forgive me. Michael Rodriguez Egberto, in your example, attacking a whole family in order to get to one individual in retaliation, that was already bad enough. When Israel used 2,000-pound bombs, they not only hit that family, but the adjacent families next door who had nothing to do with it all. New York Times, in the first 2 weeks of the war, roughly 90% of munitions Israel dropped in Gaza were satellite-guided bombs of 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. Sad. Bridge MCP says, I hate rhubarb. LOL, everybody here grows it and uses it for all time. Hey, rhubarb pie I heard is good. I think I've had it before. Nice, sweet, and tart, right? Is that right? I think it's rhubarb pie. I think that's how you do it. Anyway. All right, Biden won't be appearing on the Ohio ballot for November presidential election. Of course, they have to change that. They'll take that all the way to the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court would have to abide. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Bruce Pollard says, sad story. That is what history is. Happiness is a fleeting stroke of luck, just like the human species. Michael Rana says, oh, and in case anyone doesn't believe, yes, Israel did target entire families in order to hit one target. This is the horror we're talking about. This is Insider. Israel's Where's Daddy? AI system helps target suspected Hamas militants when they are at home with their families. We were not interested in killing Hamas operatives only when they were in a military building or engaged in a military activity, one of the IDF officers told 972 and local call. On the contrary, the IDF bombed them in homes without hesitations as a first option. It's much easier to bomb a family's home. The system is built to look for them in these situations. Sad, sad, sad. All right, I think it is about time for the numbers from brother E2247, who I gave a shout out on my morning show. But before I get there, it seems like I have something to read from Paul Fleming that says top oil producers, barrels per day. Who is the top oil producer in the world again? All the drill, baby, drill guys? America. United States, 20.21 million barrels a day. Saudi Arabia, 12.14 billion barrels a day. Russia, 10.94 million barrels a day. Canada, 5.7 million barrels a day. China, 5.12 million barrels. Iraq, 4.55. UAE, 4.24. Brazil, 3.77. Iran, 3.66. Kuwait, 3.02. Mexico, 2.48. Data total crude oil, petroleum liquids, and biofuels production for, again, for May 1st, 2023. Again, these are huge numbers, huge carbon sinks, man. All right, huge disposal into the carbon sink. All right, the residents of Gaza are responsible for what happened to them. They voted for it, supported it. Okay, let's go ahead and have the natives in America that are living in Bantustans, in other words, on reservations. Let them go ahead and start blowing crap up in Houston and Dallas and Oklahoma City and New York City and all these places, and just murder people indiscriminately. And then remember what Mike Cisak says. Mike Cisak says, well, Americans, you voted in the people who took our family's land. You know, be careful. Be careful. Be damn careful. All right, Paul Fleming says, whoa, it turns out there's major untapped sources of lithium in Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. I know it's over out in the desert, but wow, I didn't know that. While it's colloquially called a rare earth mineral, a lot of next-gen materials are more common than any of us know. Macro says E22, the pending ICC arrest warrant means that Netanyahu, if he leaves Israel and travels to any of the 124 signatory countries, he will be arrested and extradited to face genocide and war crimes charges at The Hague. Couldn't happen to a better guy. All right, day 229. Here are the numbers from E2247. Day 229, since 7 of October 2023 equal at least 35,709 Palestinians killed. That's 62 more than day 228. At least 79,990 wounded. 138 more persons more than day 228 equal 1,015,699 casualties. 1,015,699 casualties equal 505 per day of estimated 538,501,235,385,012, or 2% of the Gaza population, with 35,709 Palestinians killed, 156 per day killed, 38% are kids and women. All right, let's see what else you got here. 229 days into it, the war is no longer about Hamas, but it's clearly a US-UK war, Israel war on Palestine river to the sea. 35,709 Palestinians are killed. 38% are kids and women. Sad. Sad and sad. Bridge MCP, welcome, my beautiful, from Binghamton, New York. Great to see you here. We've been missing you, but you've been here a few days in a row. Love to see you here. I have been at peaceful protests in Northern Ireland, speakers, music, and the British government would fly helicopters, military ones, and start shooting rubber bullets. Then on the news, they said, we fired at them. Typical. Typical. By the way, you know there are going to be elections in England in July. Ha! I guess we're going to now have the Labour Party in power. Huh? I got to make sure I saw the Karen correctly. Lee Grant says, who will arrest him? What police? Any police would. I mean, if he goes to another country, they just prevent him from leaving, right? And then what is Israel going to do? Come and bomb an ally? I don't think so. All right, Paul Fleming says families of 7 female Israeli soldiers captured by Hamas during the October 7th attacks have released graphic footage of their abduction to pressure the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to secure their release. The video shows the women, all IDF personnel, lined up against the wall, their hands bound. The faces of some of the women are bruised and bloodied. Okay, that's sad. All right, Bruce Pollard said, Pollards make rhubarb pie and chutney. That sweet pie. Yeah, I think I've eaten the rhubarb before. I can't remember the texture, but I think I've eaten it before. All right, no, it's a grass or something, right? All right, let's continue. Scrolling down, you guys have written a lot, but I'm not going to read all of these. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to our last video, and this one has to do with Fani Willis. Sometimes poetic justice is just beautiful. Poetic justice is just beautiful. And I love me some Fani Willis. And you know why? Because she doesn't back down. Well, it turns out that Fani Willis, Donald Trump's nemesis in Georgia, has won her primary election, and she did it with astounding numbers. It was a landslide, 80-something% of the vote she got. Of course, Donald Trump, even in close Republican elections, he can't get, he's still losing them, or rather he's winning them, but he's losing 20% or more of the votes whenever people are voting. They're going for Nikki Haley. So who do the people actually want? Well, it turns out that Fani Willis is going to meet Trump again in the courthouse, because after Donald Trump loses the election in 2024, he will have to face her again. So all the things that he attempted to do against this strong woman will go out the door, and she will have him in court to prove that he's nothing more than a traitor, an election denier, and someone who tried to subvert this country. Anyway, let's listen to what Jansen had to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Fulton County DA Fani Willis just cleared a hurdle after months of fending off attempts to get her removed from Donald Trump's Georgia election case. Willis survived a Democratic primary challenge last night easily, getting 87% of the vote, an even larger margin than when she first ran 4 years ago. Here's her take on voters.
Tonight, they delivered a strong and a powerful message They want a district attorney that believes everyone deserves to be safe and everyone is entitled to some dignity. And it's a message that's pissing folks off, but there is no one above the law in this country, nor is there anyone beneath it.
And the judge in Trump's Georgia case also had a big win last night. Judge Scott McAfee, who was appointed to the bench last year, won in a nonpartisan election. Now he gets a full 4-year term. I want to bring in NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray and Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist and an MSNBC political analyst. So 4 years ago, Susan, Fani Willis got 71% of the vote in her primary. This time, 87%. I mean, when you look at everything that she's gone through, the attacks that she has been the target of, how important was it for her to run up the numbers?
Oh, it was really important to show that basically the citizens of the county have faith in her and that you could trust the legal system when you're going in there. And Donald Trump, he may not like having to face her, but he will have to do that. And knowing that she has the community behind her, because that's the time to get rid. If you had a problem with the prosecutor, that's when you get rid of them on election day. But this number was huge.
So, Mark, this sets up an interesting contrast in the November general election. Talk about her opponent.
The opponent is Courtney Kramer, a Republican, and she was a member of the litigation team that was doing some of Donald Trump's post-election challenges in Georgia after the 2020 election. She has wanted to take the case on 2020.
So, yeah, Fani Willis, she kept her head up high. She continued to do what she needed to do. She ran her race. And the people in Fulton County says, you know what? This is the woman that shows the fortitude to go against that rapist, to go against that insurrectionist, to go against that guy that claims to be wanting to be president of the United States and served as president of the United States, not with the popular vote, but with the aberration within the Constitution that gave him an electoral college win. Fani Willis, perfecto, go out there and after you win in November and after he loses in November, go out there and do your job. Put this man behind bars where he belongs.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
All right. Okay. As it turns out, Michael Rudnin, they did put up one person on the stand, Costello, which was a lawyer at one time for Michael, Michael, whatever his last name is, the key witness. Why did I just go blank? Anyway, yeah, so they did put up that one key witness. Okay, Paul Fleming says, Bloomberg, a Michigan farm worker tested positive with the bird flu, the second human case of the highly pathogenic avian flu running rampant in U.S. cattle. Cohen, thank you. Cohen, thank you very much for that, Mike Cisak. Michael Cohen, but yeah, he was once Michael Cohen's lawyer, but Michael Cohen didn't trust him, and emails came out to show why it was a smart choice not to trust him at all. All right, let me scroll up to see what else we're saying here. By the way, anybody wants to call in, 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Costello nearly got himself jailed for contempt. Yeah, that witness didn't debunk anything the prosecutors offered. That's what I meant by defense rested without challenging. Yeah, the thing about it is, it's funny, right? Because I actually think Costello helped Michael Cohen seem not only very believable, but pretty smart, not using him at all. Okay,
All right, let's go ahead and talk to Brother Ray. Talk to me, Brother Ray. How you doing today, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I just want to give a shout out to the voters of Fulton County because I heard that Fani Willis won by 71% in her previous election, and then
Right.
this primary she won by 81%.
It's either 81 or 87. I thought it was 87%, but I could be wrong.
Hey, it's in the 80s. That was a clear message from the voters of Fulton County. We're not taking this ish from Donald Trump, and we want you to finish the job. And I appreciate that. And I bet Donald Trump is sitting somewhere, in one of his golden palaces, probably, sulking and cussing at the TV because democracy is defeating him once again, because the voters represent everything that he's against, which is democracy, justice, and what she said, no one is above the law, no
There you
matter.
go.
And I could hear her basically taking a stab. That was basically a stab at him when she said some people don't want to believe it, but no one is above the law. Neither is anyone below it. I love it, and I appreciate her for that. I was one of those people that was like, man, I wish she wouldn't have gotten into the trouble. But hey, like you said, we need to be fair. And you know what? She's only doing what anybody else would have did. But we have a tendency to be in this puritanical space where we
There
feel
you
like
go.
we have to live our lives a lot more pristine than those on the other side who do everything but the right thing and turn around and tell you, do as I say, not as I do.
In fact, look at Trump. Trump, look, I want you to think about this. Trump has kids with 3 different women. All right. Trump doesn't take care of his kids. This guy is the instantiation of how the media and many like to characterize the black male, right? You take a look at Trump and all the things that he represents. Several baby mamas. He is he's a thug. All these things that it's not true, but they try to peg on to several men of color. He is the instantiation of all those bad behaviors. And look, he was president of the United States with all of this known. It tells you that both the evangelical Christians have selective view. They enforce their selective what should I call it? Selective judgment.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. The evangelicals, for a while they were able to play that, holier than thou role. Most of their previous candidates, even, Ronald Reagan, as evil as he was, could still play the I'm holier than them role, and so on and so forth. They always had that in their corner. We are the holier than thou party. But then once they picked Donald Trump, all of that went out the window. And from this point on, anybody that supported Donald Trump that calls themselves a God-fearing Christian, I question your values and I question your ability to be able to really interpret the Bible and really know a false prophet when you see one. So,
You know what is so interesting,
I
Ray?
watch your show a lot of times. Yeah. You go ahead.
Let me interrupt you for one quick second, Ray, because you mentioned about, it didn't. The funny thing about it is we put a lot of blame onto Donald Trump as if a lot of this degeneracy started under Trump. This degeneracy started way before Trump. We look at Hastert, who once was the Speaker of the House. Hastert is in jail for pedophilia, raping young boys, etc. So they are anti-gay, they are law and order, and there are no sex before marriage and no fornication. And Hastert was responsible for all 4 of those. Think about it. There's a Hastert rule in Congress, and they still talk about the Hastert rule, which says the government can't pay for women's abortion, and they have all these other holy things that Hastert was pushing out there. When he was
No, I
playing
mean,
with boys, having sex out of his marriage, having sex, having homosexual sex, and all these things he was doing. And he's not the only one. You go one after the other with these guys that want to be telling women what to do with their bodies. These guys that want to tell folks how to live. It's not only hypocritical, it is evil. Go ahead, brother.
oh, it's pure evil. And I mean, I love how they love to govern the masses with an iron fist. But yeah, when
Yeah.
it comes to their personal lives, yeah, it's like, no, that only applies to you lower people. We
You know,
have
I,
those privileges up here, but we don't want everybody to have that privilege.
yeah,
It's just so hypocritical. And I mean, you're right. It dates back. You're right. It's not just Donald Trump. I can date it far back as when Mitch McConnell stood in front of a crowded room and said that our only job in the next 4 years is to deny President Obama a second term. That was the most deplorable, despicable, racist, bigoted declaration I've ever heard in my life. And to this day, it's weird that even as racist as Mitch McConnell is, he still felt like Donald Trump took it a step too far because at some point it wasn't serving his needs anymore.
exactly,
But
exactly.
he
But
was really the one, he was really the one who started all of that, with the judges, with Merrick Garland. It goes back, brother. I know it goes back before Trump. I'm just saying that what's sad is that a lot of people on our side didn't see this coming and just slept on the fact that, Hillary Clinton was going to win by default. And I heard Michael Moore when he sounded the alarm, even Bill Maher when he said, when this guy gets into office, he's not going to want to leave. And he still makes that declaration to this day. I mean, one thing about Bill Maher, before he kind of made a shift to the right as a political commentator, he did make a lot of sense about what Donald Trump was going to do and how he was going to react to the lack of power when he realized, oh, I actually have to be a president now and actually have to govern. But like you said, Donald Trump represents all of the stereotypes of, what they say a black man is, and yet a lot of people just, they slough it off. And I hate to say it, there are some communities, that I'm close to that would look at that, as something to be endeared. He's
right.
one of us. Them people is, I'm gonna speak in my street talk. Oh, them people is after him just like they after me. So I could relate to that. They trying to hold us down, and it's like, but he's a rich white privileged man who had a silver spoon, up his backside when he was born. So how could you relate to him? It's so amazing to me how people have, done the mental gymnastics in their mind to like write off everything that this horrible buffoon has done in his life to people, as far as, denying people, economic opportunities, denying housing, screwing people over, not paying them for the work that they completed, and everything under that, everything that he would, if you were working for Donald Trump, you would not like him very much. But because you don't have the empathy for all the people all the necks that he stepped on in a career that he's built on trying to, quench this thirst for more power, unlimited power, people just forget that because he says the things. And then I'm really scared that he's talking about, the unified right, start talking all that neo-Nazi language. I hope people are hearing that. And I hope when it comes down to the wire, the Democrats catalog all of that and they just start playing sound clips of all of the horrible stuff. Remind people of who this, I had to censor myself. Remind people of who he is.
And you know what, Ray? I think, again, like I said, the Democratic Party need to leave the consultants alone. and go to the bloggers and all the other folks that have the ear of people, because you know what a lot. You are much younger than I am. You get a lot of your news. Yes, you get some TV, but you get a lot on your phone, don't you?
Oh yeah. I get a lot on, like, Google sends me updates on the news all the time.
Right, and so and that is what so many don't understand. They still think putting these expensive commercials on TV or radio is going to do the magic. The magic is what we do. The magic is all these different avenues. But Ray, anything else you have to say before I go ahead and continue reading from our brothers and sisters?
You know what? I think I'm gonna step off my soapbox. I said a lot of. I saw Breege in the comments. She was like, "Preach, Ray." When I guess when I start talking, because you know, Donald Trump's existence in this government has been mentally damaging to me, and you know, like, there's not a day that I wake up thinking to myself, what hell of a life would be, you know, if he has a path to victory, if we fall asleep. Because like you say, if we show up, he has a snowball chance in hell of
Right.
winning.
That's all we
But
got to
if
do.
people really fall for the okey doke and say, you know, Biden is not the lesser of the two evils, then we have a big problem. And
Here, Ray, let me
well,
just
we'll
because
see.
you brought it up, I want to say this. Look, the amount of people that really are the cult of Trump is no more than 25 to 30%, if that much. The cult of Trump is no more than 25 to 30%, period. No more. Now, there are others that are going to vote for Trump because they think there's going to be an economic advantage for them. And that economic advantage for them also, they believe he's going to stick it to those others. They don't mind feeling a bit of pain as long as he screws over those others. And you know who those others are. But the vast majority of Americans, okay, and I'm talking about a percentage of white, the vast majority of blacks, vast majority of Latino, vast majority of Asians, or etc. They don't have that problem of feeling like they're going to lose something they've never had. And that's what it's all about. And that is what Trump tries to put in the fear of the low information citizen. And that is what we have to do. And that is simply, first of all, show up, number one. And number two, keep talking to these other people. Because it's going to plant a seed in some of them. Not all, but it's going to plant a seed in some. And that's all we need. And why I see that the Republicans are creating the path for our landslide. The question is whether we are going to take it. Take the path to the landslide, Democrats. Take the path to the landslide, progressives. You have to go out there and take it. The Republicans are trying to take something that they have with a very weak hand. We can go take it with the hand that we have. We don't have to formulate. We can actually take this thing. And that is what folks need to do. Stop being scared. Go out there and face it. Go out there to the polls. Go out there and remind folks, look, if you can't vote on your own, vote for me. I have a lot of people they are so tunnel vision into what Biden has done wrong. You ask them, do you think Trump is going to be any better? And they think, not a chance. And so what are you going to do? I'm just going to stay home. No. Again, what we have to do is just do our job. It's not about fear. It's about getting your circle and getting your circle involved. Anyway, thank you for calling in, my dear brother Ray Brackens. It's always a pleasure to speak to you over here, and for anybody else who wants to call, my brother.
All right, always a pleasure to allow me to opine on your show, on our platform. As you say, I got to remember
Our
it's
show.
our platform, not yours.
Our show, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. I would love to hear.
So,
I haven't heard
I'm
my
leave you
beautiful.
last.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. We'll talk. I haven't heard Bridge. I haven't heard
All
on,
right.
on a line in a while. I haven't either heard, but she's probably driving. Yvette Avery Herod. Like to hear some different voices every so often too. Bruce, haven't heard Bruce's voice in a while. Michael never calls in. Michael don't believe in calling in and that sort of stuff. But somebody call me. Dang it! Somebody call me before we close this show out. Who is it gonna be? Who is it gonna be? Let's see. Are we gonna get a call to end this program? I want to hear the voice of one of our beautiful listeners, whether male or female. I'd love to hear that voice. Come on, somebody call in. Listen to Michael. Ha! No, Michael, it's the truth. You never call in, bro. Love all my peeps, man. Love all my peeps. Who's gonna call in? Is it gonna be CSAC? Is it gonna be Hayes? Is it gonna be brother Bruce? Who's it gonna be? Egberto? Ah, it's my girl. Bridge, how you doing, beautiful? How are you doing today?
You don't want to hear my call, but
Of course I
I
want to
think
hear
Ray
your
was
call.
great. He was right
Ye-
on with what he said. He was perfect. Of course, the MAGA people, because now I don't call them the right, I call them MAGA, except
Uh-huh.
Billy Grant. And but he's a little close. And I think that since I have not been on that much, and I come on here and there, and sometimes I don't say hi, I just listen. I cannot believe that nothing has changed. They're wild stories. They're ridiculous, ridiculous thoughts. I don't know where they get their news from. I mean, I do know, but they just repeat the same garbage no matter what right-wing site you go to. It's like they're all parrots. Now they're going to say the same thing about us. That's not true.
No, but that's the
But
thing,
at least we
Bridge.
call out our own.
Yeah, we don't repeat the same thing. I mean, you have your things. You've corrected me so many times. I've corrected. I mean, that we have a discussion. We don't. And not only that, we know when things just sound completely ridiculous, right? Like when somebody there are certain things on the right wing media. I sit down and wonder. You're an intelligent person. Do you really believe that? Just think about it. Take it to the next level. Like today, when CSAC says Exxon is not a monopoly, right? um Mike, and then he says they are vertical companies and all of that. I sit and I pause and I said, okay, my brother, go through the list. Companies do magical things not to seem like monopolies. One of the things that they do is they create vertical industries above them. They're really holding companies, and so it follows the law in such a manner that it doesn't look like a monopoly. But the fact is,
Hmm.
Exxon is a monopoly. Every single oil company is a monopoly. And, it's hard. But you know what, Bridge? Like I told Eric, what we do is we keeping on. And in your case, when you can't handle it, girl, you do exactly what you do. But by the way, you did make me feel inadequate for that stuff that you're building.
I just stained it.
It looks beautiful, man. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, well,
And I imagine it's
90
waterproof
degree
now
heat,
and
I was
everything.
dying.
You were,
Oh
huh?
yeah, and then I get the gazebo up, but it was
Oh,
been hot up here. I
did you
feel like
put
I'm
the
in Texas.
gazebo on already?
No, I took a day off. I can't walk. That's the next step.
Okay, well, good.
That's not
I'm
happening.
waiting.
Plus, we're getting a severe storm starting soon. So I'm glad I
Okay.
got it stained before that happened.
Well,
But
good. It's
anyway,
waterproof now.
it's so funny that it will be, and now it's so funny, like you were saying about the right. Michael just said something that it used to be that we could all talk and agree whether you were right or left, and you
Hmm.
could come to a common grounds on what you want, like parents do with a child.
Right.
But the right has become so crazy, so nuts, and these people eat it up, and then they say they're not racist. Then they say they're
Y-
not this, but they talk racist, they act racist. You are a racist. I don't want to say this on the air, but if it smells like poop, tastes like poop, guess what? It's poop.
It is.
And that's
You
what
know
they
what
have
is
in their heads.
interesting? Let me tell you something that's interesting, Breach. I have my morning program, right?
The trust building that's occurring on that program is amazing. I have several right wingers that you would not imagine the emails that I now get from these folks. I mean, they're not Democrats. They will never be Democrats. They are conservative people. But what they do is look at the feeling that they had towards liberals, that we have horns and all of that. I have broken through a whole lot of that with quite a few of these callers. And yes, it's just a few right now, but that's a trickle turns into a torrent in the long run. And that's what it's all about. So I know some people don't have the patience. That's fine. They don't, and that's fine. But you know what, Bridge? I've committed to have the patience. Okay?
I don't know how you do it, Egberto.
Well, we do it. We do it. And you know what? All of us are a part of it. So
I look, yeah, we are. But I look at these comments and I just say to myself, how do these people even have a job? How do these people even do anything? I don't understand how they work. They complain about things and they vote against their own interest all the time because they're being fed garbage and they believe it. So it's like Mike always says, when you go and when you go and you search for something, the first thing that comes up that matches your ideals and your opinions and what you really want is the one you say, yep, that's real news. And that's what they do.
right. You know, before I go, I got to go now, Bridge, but let me just say one thing important, right? That is why I do what I do. I write blogs and several blogs a day because we have to have intelligent information for the search engines to find. And what happens is they have a whole industry that just goes ahead and fill the internet with well SEO'd information that gets placed higher in the feed. I have to try with all the items that I write to make sure there's a backstop, and that's what I do, and that's what hundreds of other progressive writers are doing right now. So let me just tell you, we are working on it. But I gotta go. It's 4:02, and I gotta go interview another guy right now. So I love you, girl. We'll talk later. Okay. Take care.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
All right, folks, I got to get out of here, and I don't have time to really do my ask right now. So what I'm going to ask folks is please go to politicsandright.com/support and find all the different ways to support the program. And the one important way that I'd love for all of you to support the program who can is, and that's the only link I'm going to put in right now, is to go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. Please go to our newsletter and subscribe. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.